I wanted to ask you is, all right, first of all, I don't know if you know this, but back in January in the beginning of 2010, I started something called Operation Flooded on my website, The Conservative Monster, and I had thousands of people flood Glenn Beck's radio show, and we were demanding that he start talking about the eligibility issue. Mm-hmm. And that's what sent him on an anti-Bertha tirade that really made, like, your website, MSNBC. So what's your take on the whole Glenn Beck thing, and do you feel he purposely is undermining the eligibility issue?
Well, let me tell you about, this is just, I don't know Glenn Beck. I'm friends with Rush, and I'm friends with Hannity, and I'm friends with Michael Savage, and I'm friends with Dr. Laura, and I'm friends with a lot of, significant broadcasters out there, talk radio people. Glenn Beck I've never met, don't know him, but there's a couple of things that you should know, is that he doesn't like Worldnetdaily. And I don't know, he's always seemed to have an axe to grind with World. Not that he says anything negative about it, but I can tell you just anecdotally, he's called up prospective guests, asked them to be on the show. These are people who have great expertise in certain areas. And in more than one case we know of, one of the screening questions has been, these are people who have some kind of association with Worldnetdaily, naturally. Right. The question is, do you work for Worldnetdaily? And sometimes the answer is yes, and then it's, basically click. If the answer is, well, I used to work for Worldnetdaily, then it's, well, we'll get back to you, and the call never comes. And so there's really, now I have always attributed this to the fact that much of Glenn Beck's big success in terms of, the scalps that he's put on his belt, like Van Jones and whatnot, ultimately, I hate to say this, but I've said it before, so I'll say it again. This was Worldnetdaily reporting that Beck used on the air without any attribution. The reporting was all done first in Worldnetdaily on Van Jones and others I won't go into. And so, if that's the case, let's say, let's put yourself in Glenn Beck's shoes. You've gotten a lot of attention for breaking stories that somebody else broke. Would you want to start surrounding yourself with somebody else who actually broke the stories that brought you fame and fortune at Fox? And so that's what I've always attributed it to.
Right.
Now, on the eligibility question, there's a whole different answer to that. And it's an answer that applies to him or Bill O'Reilly or any number of folks in their positions. Remember, these guys are not investigators, okay? I think a lot of people who watch at home, maybe they picture these guys, actually researching and reporting and investigating. No. These are guys who are good in front of the camera, and they take information that's assembled by their staffs, and they go on camera and they explain it. That's what they do well, and it's a talent. There's no denying it. So Beck knows what Beck knows about any given issue, whether it's eligibility or anything else, is what his staff gives him. And they surround themselves with staffs that reflect them and their interests. Now, let's take I can talk about a friend of mine, and a guy I love and admire, and I would never have a negative thing to say about him, and that would be Rush. I collaborated with him on his second book, and, he's a great guy. The prism through which Rush views the world is the prism of the Wall Street Journal editorial page. If it's not on the Wall Street Journal editorial page, it doesn't have the good housekeeping seal of approval, and Rush doesn't like to deal with it. Now, that's not to say that Rush won't joke around on some issues or touch on issues tangentially, like he has with the eligibility issue. I think Rush has had some of the funniest, most hysterical things to say about that, and that's what he does so well. But Now, Beck, I don't know what the prism is that he uses. I don't know what his version of the Wall Street Journal editorial page is, but there's something that he reads or somebody he listens to, an advisor who told him this issue is radioactive and you're going to go down in flames if you talk about this. That was conventional wisdom throughout the media for a long, long time, for the first year anyway of Obama's administration. Only now do you see that the American people in every single poll are deeply suspicious about Obama's nativity story, and now now they don't talk about it so much, do they? Because why? Because they know that their core audience is not with them on this issue. And so, I suspect that that's why even Bill O'Reilly, who is obsessive about this issue, condescendingly obsessive, basically night after night ridiculing birthers, he doesn't do it anymore, does he? Because he knows that it is an unpopular, unwise thing to do because you're alienating your core audience. And so I would say that, the best thing people can do on any issue, whether it's that one or something else, when you see these guys going off the reservation like that, call it to their attention, because sooner or later they start to get the message.
Well, I have a quote that I put on the Conservative Monster, and that is, Glenn Beck, stop crying on the Constitution if you're going to ignore the greatest violation against it, and that's the Obama eligibility issue. You said at the Nashville Tea Party that this is the number one issue, and I'll tell you, everybody totally agrees with you.
That's right. What could be more fundamental than the President of the United States complying with the Constitution on assuming office, and to be
right.
and we all know the history here now. It's like he considers it, he treats the matter with utter disdain, and he and his spokesman like Gibbs, this is ridiculous, it's been proven 1,000 times. What's been proven? We don't even know who this guy's parents are. Let's face facts here. We have a story in Worldnetdaily today about Aaron Klein's investigation of this that appeared in his, New York Times bestseller, Manchurian President. The whole chapter in the book on eligibility that we just sort of summarized today, and basically the conclusion is, you know what? If he's telling the truth about who his parents are, then he's ineligible. And
right.
and I've always known that. But the point is this. The reason I put so much emphasis on the birth certificate is because unless I don't take Barack Obama's word for anything, the man is a liar. The man distorts the truth at every opportunity. So can we believe him just because he says his parents were? I want to know who his parents were. I want documented proof. And then we also have one more piece of evidence to suggest that he was not even telling the truth about, his very birth. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I know this is why the American people are so suspicious. When a politician evades and evades and evades over seemingly the most innocent kinds of records, school records, college records, Harvard law papers, travel records, passport records, Social Security records, and birth records, what does that tell you? It tells me that the man has been lying about his history, that his autobiography is totally fabricated. And I think the American people have, a right to know that.
Well, everyone, we're speaking with the great Joseph Farah from Worldnetdaily. Also, you mentioned